Welcome to Yap Meals, the show where I cook and talk about things. On today's menu, we have Sinigang wings with coconut cream Thai basil ranch, and today's topic, decentering your physical appearance.
Yap Meals.
To start off today's episode, we have the lychee shot. The lychee shot is to celebrate something that's going on in your life, and for me, it's been the growth of the show. We reached 1,000 subscribers, which is insane. I didn't think that I would hit that mark within the first year of doing the show, so that's been awesome. My following on Instagram and TikTok have, I think, quadrupled now. It's so crazy. I really appreciate all of the support that all of you have been giving me. So if this is your first time here, welcome, and if it's not, then welcome back. I have a patron on Patreon, Bimza, who is my first patron, by the way, so another thing to celebrate. And they would like to engage in the lychee shot as well. And they said, I had my 23rd birthday recently, and I just had an overwhelming amount of reality come over me, and it made me really appreciate life, my family, and peers. So I say celebrating another year on this planet. And that goes for everyone. I'm glad you're here, still thugging it out with us all. So yeah, cheers Bimza, cheers to all of you for watching. Yeah. For today's recipe, it's gonna be fairly simple. It's just wings, fries, and ranch with some touches that I've put on it. So for today's recipe, you will need the following ingredients: chicken wings, sinigang mix, coconut cream, crema, Thai basil, garlic cloves, half a yellow onion, and potatoes. For the coconut cream Thai basil ranch, I thought it would be fun we're already kind of mixing it all up, right? Instead of doing buttermilk, it's coconut cream, and instead of doing dill, it's Thai basil. But I thought it would be fun. A lot of people in their ranch mixes use both garlic powder and onion powder. I think that I would like to caramelize some onion and saute some garlic so we can get some fresher flavor in there, you know, than dried onion and garlic. So I'm going to start off with chopping our onion, our half onion that is. I'm going to get that going, let it start to caramelize, and once it starts to get some real color, I will go in with our garlic. For today's topic, decentering your physical appearance, I thought about appearance in multiple ways. First is appearance as attention. Your body can enter the room before you do, and your physical appearance auditions for personhood. What I mean by that is attention can be paid in lots of ways, right? In the form of compliments, staring, jokes, racism, insults. All of these things reinforce this idea that your physical appearance steps in before your personality, your personhood, your self does. In fact, Jackson and colleagues in 2022 described how first-generation women of color can experience both invisibility and hypervisibility in predominantly white college spaces. People with multiple minoritized identities can be unseen as full people while becoming hypervisible through race, class, behavior, language, or physical appearance, right? So when they are looking at women of color, you have multiple minority identities as a woman in a predominantly male space, and then as a woman of color, right? Being a person of color in a mostly white space. And I can attest to this too. It's a really weird feeling because we're all familiar with tokenism and how when you are the only person of color in the room, the only woman in the room, the only what have you in the room, you feel very looked upon, I guess is the word. Everyone can kind of see that you're there because you just stick out like a sore thumb. And yet at the same time, you can feel invisible. I've felt this, where people look at me and they don't see me as a person. They see the guy with brown skin, the guy with curly hair, the guy who, I don't know, basically just looking at me and not looking at me. And that was the next point that I had, that invisibility doesn't always mean that no one sees you in the physical sense. It's more that people see everything but you, right? They see your hair, they see your skin, your clothes, your body, your gender, and they make assumptions about you from what they see, not what they actually observe about you as a person. The second thing that I viewed appearance as is as consequence, right? These messages that we take in when we know that people are looking at us, but they're not looking at us as the person, right? These things can shape a lot of our perception of the world. It can shape a lot of, one, how we view ourselves and how we view how people view us. And then also just how people perceive us. Internally, this can be our self-esteem and our self-image. This can shape how we view ourselves in terms of quality and in terms of our qualities. Externally, this can affect our credibility, for better or for worse. This can affect our belonging and inclusion, right? Whether or not people care to let us into the in-group, whether we should be part of the friend group or whether we should not be invited to the party. And so on the flip side of the coin, that also affects whether or not we experience exclusion and discrimination. Pachili and colleagues did a study in 2023, and they found that appearance compliments in a job interview scenario increased anxiety and depression in women, while competence compliments did not have the same effect. So compliments are not automatically neutral just because they sound positive. Compliments can still remind you that you are being visually evaluated, right? Even when your appearance isn't supposed to be at the forefront, people can still look at you and say, hey, I'm looking at you, by commenting on your appearance, right? Hey, your hair looks nice today. And it's like, okay, well, my hair looks nice, but now I know they're looking at me. What else? What else? They said my hair looks nice, but they didn't say my skin looks nice. Oh gosh, I forgot that I'm having some acne recently. Is there a spot that I didn't notice? So drawing attention to our physical appearance, even whenever the intentions are nice, it doesn't always have a positive effect on someone. And I'm not saying that you're wrong if my chopping technique right now is like really questionable right now. I guess because I'm just focusing on the talking and not the chopping itself. But, oh, that reminds me, I need a bench scraper. Let's see if I can remember. Rule number 47? I think it's rule number 47 of cooking. Get a bench scraper. It will change your life. Truly. I don't have to get a perfect chop on these onions. I mean, it's all going to go into the sauce, and I'm probably going to blend it anyways. So as long as it gets small enough, these, whenever you go to caramelize an onion, it gets very, very soft. So I don't think it's going to impact too much if I don't get the perfect chop, the most perfect chop I've ever had in my life right now in this moment. So in with our onions into the pot so we can start sweating those down. I watched a video the other day about seasoning in layers. I feel bad. I'll do my best to go and find where I watched this video, because it was really impactful to me, talking about seasoning in layers. And what does that mean, seasoning in layers? It means that if you add your seasonings, most importantly your salt, only at the very end of cooking, right? Then you're not going to have as much depth of flavor, because adding salt to things does stuff to it. I know, it sounds crazy, right? When you add salt at earlier stages of cooking, you are drawing out water. And whenever you draw out water, what does that do, right? Whenever we have a sauce or a soup and we reduce that down a ton, what happens? What's left over? Flavor, exactly. So when we add salt to what we're cooking early on, and we can draw out that moisture early on, those flavors that are left before we add our wine, before we add whatever to build the volume back up, those flavors that were left had more time to get to know each other in this this drier environment, right, where they're not swimming in water. And it's something that I already did, you know, but I feel like I'm more mindful about it now that I know, like, hey, you were doing this thing, but it is important. It's very important to not just salt at the end, right? Of course you do salt at the end for finishing touches, because as you're cooking, it's this really delicate balance where you do want to salt, but not too much, right? Because you can add more salt, but you can't take away. And so at the very end, it's very likely that in exercising that caution, you may have not added enough salt. Onions are on the pot. I've got it at a, I don't know, medium-ish heat. My scale goes from low numbers 2 through 8 and then high. And I have it set at a 4 right now, so not too high. I threw that salt in there so I can see that the water is starting to come out. The onions aren't exactly crying yet, and neither am I, luckily. But I can see that it's starting to leach out some of that water. And so what my goal is right now is for all of that water to seep out as fast as possible so that the caramelization of the onions can begin. A little bit of olive oil. And we'll have beautiful, sweet brown onions. I am going to go ahead and throw my wings in the oven. These wings, I already prepped them yesterday. So if you were making this recipe, really bad news. If you care to do it exactly the way that I did, you are already a day too late. So what I did was a dry brine. Basically, just like I was talking about, where you are creating a drier surface, a drier environment for flavor to develop, the same is happening here. So I coated all of these wings in a mixture of baking soda, salt, and a little bit of cornstarch, and let these sit overnight uncovered in the fridge. And so now what has happened is the skin of the chicken has started to dry out. And what that does is now whenever I go to bake these wings, they are going to get nice and crispy, just like we like. At least just like how I like. I guess I can't speak for you and how you enjoy your wings, but I am considering tossing these. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go ahead and toss these in another round of cornstarch just because I want the sauce, the Sinigang sauce, to kind of stick to it a bit more. I'm not gonna make like a super saucy Sinigang. I think I'm gonna use some of the powder to make almost like a Nashville hot vibe with the wings, a little bit of oil to wake those flavors up. As you can see here, whoa, a little bit of a mess. Just a bit of cornstarch on these wings. I'm kind of just eyeballing it. I should probably take more measurements when I cook, but for the most part, it usually works out for me. So I just keep cooking this way. It just keeps working somehow. People have asked if I have training in terms of cooking. I've worked at one restaurant in the kitchen, and I just did salads, appetizers, and desserts. Basically the cold station. So I'm not gonna say that I'm professional by any means, but I don't know. I like to think my stuff looks pretty good.
It don't matter. It don't matter if you're gay. It don't matter if you're trans. It don't matter if you're straight. It don't matter if you're brown, white, yellow, in between. It don't matter. It don't. You're beautiful. You're all so beautiful. You're all so beautiful.
I'm here with Daniel with 30 Acre Farm. We got some sea kraut with kelp, and you said it was kelp, carrots,
kohlrabi, horseradish, leeks. That's about it.
Okay, yeah.
Since about 2005. We've actually moved around a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Started on 30 acres in Whitefield, Maine. Now we're based out of Bremen, which is in the mid-coast. We do ship online, and we are regional in New England. this point. So Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, some upstate New York, some Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire. Can't forget about them.
Noted. Yeah, if you're in the Northeast at all, definitely grab some kraut. Everything's grown on site for them. Support small business for sure.
Who am I when my body is no longer the first thing that people notice, praise, question, or punish? That thing really sat with me, you know, like all of my life I focused so much on what do I look like, you know? Am I in shape enough to get the girl, right? Does my hair look good so that I look good for school pictures? Am I physically fit enough also for sports, and why did I even play sports? To fit in, right? I mean, I enjoy basketball, and I played soccer and baseball when I was younger, but I mean, let's be honest, it was for camaraderie. I enjoyed the sport, but I could have done plenty of things that allowed me to engage in physical activity that didn't involve the social environment that you get with the team sports that I played. Guys, aren't these so cute? They're these little dish towels that my girlfriend's mom made for us. And they have this little knot thing, similar to like a tie, so that cats can't pull them down. I was having an issue with that whenever I would cook. My little kitten would pull it down because she's a rapscallion, that one. So wings are in the oven. We're going to set a timer for, I'd say about 20 minutes. And when you're baking this, you're gonna wanna go skin side down. That is so that the fats and juices and everything like that from the wings can start to cook down into the skin. Then after about 20 minutes, when the meat is cooked, we flip it right back over, and the skin will then start to dry out on top. Once again, like we were talking about with creating a dry environment, as all of the juices and things like that from the chicken evaporate out of the skin will get crispy, and it won't be a bland skin, right? It'll be a skin full of that chicken essence, chicken fat and juice and all of those things. Next is our Thai basil. I don't have to be too fancy about this because I am going to blend the sauce. I'm going to blend our pseudo ranch. I just noticed, look at this, little Thai basil flower. What do you think about that, huh? It's pretty, but if any of you have a green thumb, I'm sure that you would know that you don't want flowers on your basil. The flower or the plant then will put all of its energy into maintaining that flower and blooming it, because that pollination, once it starts to cross-pollinate, that is how it can make more of itself. And plants aren't too different from us in that I think every living thing wants to be alive. We express it in different ways, but plants do it too, weird enough. So yeah, if you ever are trying to grow basil, the moment you see a flower such as this, you chop that off immediately because we don't want this basil plant making babies, because it ruins the whole point that we grow basil. These awesome leaves. All of the energy from the leaves will get sapped into that flower, which is why I'm guessing that this supermarket that I bought these from harvested it at that time. They saw the flower and was like, okay, it's time now, because this plant has reached its full maturity, its last stage. Until we go to talk about just the food, I think the last thing to address is the topic at hand, right? Decentering our physical appearance. The answer is not to get hotter, right? The answer is not to make yourself more desirable, more marketable, more impressive, or visually acceptable. There's something to be said about opposites, in that if something can be good, it can also be bad. And so achieving a sense of neutrality with your body and your physical appearance can be something to kind of avoid that ebb and flow of I look good today, I look bad today, right? You can just be, you just look how you look. And I think that that is a healthier way of approaching your relationship with yourself and the way that you look. At least I can say that for myself. Just to kind of back up my claim, Lipinska in 2025, I hope I'm saying that correctly, but as always, all of the studies that I mentioned today are going to be linked in the description, so if anyone wants to correct me, you're welcome to. Anyways, they did a study on body neutrality, not body positivity, and this isn't to say that I disagree with the body positivity movement. I think that it's really awesome if someone can feel good about the way they look, you know? However, I would like to make the case for body neutrality in that it is also a valid way of thinking. Lipinska's study in 2025, they found that body neutrality was positively associated, so meaning that the more that someone had a neutral stance on the way that they look, the more that this thing also increased. It was positively associated with self-esteem, body image, mindfulness, and gratitude. To me, those are all pretty good things to experience whenever we're talking about our self-image, right? I think it's really important that we try to escape that cycle of looking good, right? If you want to look good for yourself, that's one thing, but we're social creatures, and naturally we're going to find people who we do kind of care how they view us, right? We want them to think that we look good, or that we're smart, or that we're whatever the thing is that we value about ourselves. We want them to see that thing too. And it's a reasonable thing. But that relationship can go wrong. And I just don't want to see any of you guys be in that cycle and be in that place where it goes wrong. You know? You're all some lovely people, and I'd rather not see you go down that route. Down the route of someone like Will Porter. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He is a baker who owns a bakery in Arizona. He went on Jubilee and he repeated a bunch of manosphere talking points. Things like women are shallow. If an unattractive man has an attractive partner, then he must be rich. Use of the term SMV, or sexual market value, which is insane to talk about people and say that they have like a certain value in the sexual market. Like, I don't know. He said, when he was talking about what makes up your SMV, he said between these three things, your looks, how wealthy you are, and what your status is, within the balance of these three traits, you'll get to a certain point where you're acceptable. And it's like, you were always acceptable, right? You never weren't. But when you center your physical appearance, and that doesn't just mean your face, skin, and hair, right? He said something like status, right? He had this Instagram story. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I might put a screenshot somewhere so that you can see it too. But the main thing that I saw that really stuck with me, he said, you can be passionate, successful, and decent looking, and women still don't even return your messages. This video is not about Will. I don't want to harp on him too much. There's plenty of videos that you can go watch by some great people who can tell you about all of the drama and the things that people have to say about him. However, I do think that what we've seen from him is a clear example of a person repeating, these types of harmful rhetorics, and how it is a symptom of centering your appearance. One thing that I felt whenever I saw him was pity. And that might be insulting to some. It might be insulting to him if he were to ever see this video. But when I say that, it's because he is impressive, right? Like, to go to France and learn the art of pastry and do it at a high level. If you look at his bakery, it looks good. The food genuinely looks good, and he says that all he wants to do is create food, but clearly, by some of the things that he's saying, that's not the truth. He doesn't just want to make food. There's something going on there, and I feel for him. you know, you can be impressive and still feel all of these terrible things about yourself. And I guess that's really the point I'm trying to drive home today, is just, it's so harmful. It's such a harmful thing to experience, viewing yourself that way. And I really hate it for him, and I hate it for anyone else who is going through such a struggle. How do you guys like your fries? Me personally, I'm partial to a curly fry, a waffle fry. There's another one, I think it's called Sidewinder fries. I like, similar to pasta, I like shapes that can hold sauce and seasoning well. And those ones, boy oh boy, are they tasty. And hand cutting them like this is good too. I like keeping all the skin on. I think the skin creates a really awesome texture. Chasing status is another form of centering your physical appearance. It's something like, be careful what you wish for, right? If you say, hey everyone, look at me, for insert reason here, for your car, for your body, for your house, for, you know, these things, you are giving them permission to look at you, right? You are saying, look at me. And they may not look at the thing that you want them to look at, right? There may be things about yourself that you don't really like that much, and you would rather not have people focus on that thing. But when you say, look at me for this really awesome thing, they may also look at you in another way that you don't like. And that's, you're opening the door for it. Onions are definitely getting some color. I'm gonna go in with some garlic now, I think. And since I'm gonna blend this sauce, I'm gonna go in with, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gosh, stupid. Give them a quick little cutty cut. Nothing crazy. I mean, if I wanted to, I could really, let's see, go ham on it, but we're gonna blend this anyways, so I think a quick slice and maybe even a smash will do it for me. Garlic into our pan. When you have color such as this with your onions, you are developing flavor, right? You're getting bitter notes, you're getting, I don't know, a bunch of cool stuff going on. And when you rehydrate this, all of those flavors are going to mend into that sauce that you build, into that water that you add, whether it be wine, whether it be stock, whether it be water. So once again, that's just to touch on the point of depth. We're creating depth by adding color, by taking out water, adding water back, adding a little more salt to bring out the flavor that we just built. Let's see what these bad boys are looking like, huh? Wings. Woo! I don't know if you can see that. I am completely steamed. Oh yeah. These are going in the fryer, for sure. Just for a quick bit, because they're gonna get nice and golden and awesome. So these are gonna go in the fryer. I'll take that outside here whenever I get a moment. And we'll have a better end product, hopefully. I'm gonna go ahead and open up our can of coconut cream. This is a technique that people use for curries. I specifically learned this when I was learning how to make Thai curry, though I believe that this is something that is done almost universally amongst people who are making curry with coconut cream, all throughout Southeast Asia, etc. The goal is this. The coconut cream that you have on top of your milk is full of flavor and fats and really tasty, awesome stuff. And one thing that we do understand about food is that fat is flavor, right? Things develop flavor in fat. That's why when we look at a lot of our sauces, right? When you look at mayo, why is mayo so awesome on a sandwich? Why is aioli so good with fries, etc.? Because it's got a bunch of fat. I love you, coconuts. So what they will do when they go to make curry is they will cook down the fat, the really, really fatty part of their coconut cream, and all of those flavors will develop. Then they will add the rest of their ingredients, and you get this really awesome, once again, deep flavor. So I'm gonna go in with my coconut cream fat, coat those onions. I'm gonna turn this heat down while I'm outside just so I don't burn this. That would be a travesty. And one last little sprinkle of salt, because I got a little taste. That's rule number 83 of cooking. Taste as you go, right? You can't know how your flavors are developing if you don't taste it as you're cooking it. And if you're cooking for other people, it doesn't have to be a big deal, right? Let's say I haven't touched this spoon. I can grab another spoon, or with the utensil that I'm cooking with, I just kind of plop it into my spoon, like so. And then can take a taste from that spoon and say, okay, this, the salt is developing, this flavor is developing, I'm gonna leave it, or maybe this needs a touch of this while it's still cooking. Wow. Oh my God, this is gonna be so good. Wow. If there's one recipe that you guys should make that I've made thus far in the show, this one might be it. Actually, last one was a banger too. You should cook my food. Okay, and let's go outside to the fryer to make our things crispy. Okay guys, it is a beautiful, beautiful night out here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to go ahead and do our first fry of our potatoes. So I only have this set to 275 degrees. For the first fry, I want to keep it at a low temperature so that I can cook the potatoes through. And then once this first fry is done, we will go for a higher temperature, and that is what is going to crisp the potatoes up. If none of you are familiar with the double fry, if none of you are familiar with the double fry method, it's good. It's why restaurants have such good fries, and whenever you go to make frozen fries at home and bake them or fry them, it doesn't seem to work out quite as well. So maybe try it out, and try it out for any time that you're trying to fry something. The same goes for the wings. Had I not baked them initially, I would be doing the same thing with the wings. Where I last left off on was chasing status, how it's a form of centering your appearance. When you tell someone, look at this thing, look at my awesome apron, right? When I say that, you might not look at my apron. You might look at my beard and how it's patchy. You might look at something in that way, right? You might not look at me the way that I want to be looked at. And so when I open that door, it's kind of like a Pandora's box, I don't know exactly what I'm going to get. And in that way, status can change the rooms that you get into, but it doesn't always change what people are trained to see when you enter. Zora Neale Hurston, an author, wrote, I feel most colored when I am thrown against a sharp white background. This reminded me of a study that I read in researching for this episode. It was by Kyung and Takuchi. In 2009, they studied Filipino adults in San Francisco and Honolulu and found evidence of phenotypic bias. So what they meant by this was that darker skin was associated with lower income and lower physical health for both men and women. And for women, more ethnic features were associated with lower income as well. So in thinking about this, the way that I look, phenotypic biases that I feel in my environment here in Georgia, after I graduate from grad school, I've thought about moving. I went to Seattle just a month ago, or a little over a month ago, and it was life-changing. Like one of my favorite cities I think I've ever been to, just because the inclusive environment, and maybe people from Washington or the surrounding area could comment on this and tell me that I'm entirely wrong and I shouldn't move there and it's terrible. But man, the city was awesome, and the nature around was awesome. But one thing specifically that stuck with me was when I went to Seafood City for the first time. I walked in and it was like magic. There was a Jollibee next to it, and I hadn't had Jollibee since I went to the Philippines last year, and that was awesome. Being in a grocery store where my ingredients, and when I say my, I mean Filipino ingredients, are not relegated to a single aisle, but it's the whole store. It was just like, wow, like nothing I've ever seen before. And it was like, no one stared at me, no one cared that I was there. Like, for the first time in my life, except for being in the Philippines, but for the first time in my life in America, I felt completely invisible, like I was a nobody. And I used to dream of that moment when I was a kid, you know, when I was one, besides my family, like one of 2 other Filipino kids in the entire county, and when, you know, jokes were being made at my expense because I'm Asian, when I'm the only Asian in the group, you know. Which, by the way, it was almost always East Asian stereotypes that they would make these jokes using. So it's like it didn't even really apply to me. Anyways, it was all uncomfortable, you know. I felt contrast. Like in the same way that, you know, contrast is very striking in visual art, right? Whenever you look at an image and you see, you know, a really dark color right next to a really light color, it hits you. You see it, and it creates something for you, right? The same thing can happen in life. And I feel that contrast. I don't know if anyone else here is of a certain minority in their environment, but for me, I don't feel like a nobody. Even moving to the city, I still, like, I almost never see Filipinos unless I go to a Filipino restaurant, or if I, you know, go to certain enclaves. And yeah, being in Seattle, it was like I saw so many Asians, and not just East Asians, but Southeast Asians too, and Filipinos. And it was like, wow, this is crazy. People live like this, you know? But yeah, I used to think when I was growing up what I would be willing to give just so I could be a nobody. I'm a person, you know, I'm not a contributor to a contrast value, like I'm some shade to be put into a palette, you know? It's not that I'm insecure about how I look or being Filipino. In fact, I'm quite satisfied with those things. I like me, and I like the fact that I have Filipino blood in me. But sometimes it's that the issue, I feel, is that your appearance has been socialized. It's been made socially meaningful before you ever got a say, before you ever even stepped onto the canvas. Fries are nearly done. I don't know if you can see that on cam 1. I don't have cam 2 on currently, but these are nearly done. But yeah, I've considered moving, you know, to the Bay Area, to San Francisco, to, you know, somewhere up the Western Coast, just to be with those people. And why is that? There was a study in 2006 by On Allen and colleagues. They studied multiracial Japanese people, and they found that how we view ourselves goes beyond our identity in terms of culture and race. So, of course, we ask, what am I, right? When we're putting ourselves up against the environment, how do we contrast? How are we alike, right? But we also ask, who accepts me? Who questions me and my existence? Who treats me like I belong, and who makes me feel like I'm an outsider? Back to the topic of the topic question, right? Who am I apart from my appearance? I'm a person with experiences. I'm not just how I look, right? But when it comes to wanting to move to a place where people look like me, it's because while yes, I do have those experiences and that's who I am, sometimes a prerequisite for those experiences is how I look, right? It's like, I can't know what it's like to be a woman, right? I have no idea what it must be like to be anxious before my first OBGYN visit, right? Or, let's see, what else did I write? You know, I can share experiences with people. You know, queer and trans people share minorityhood and having faced discrimination with people of color. But the reasons for and the nuances of those experiences are specific to the subclass, right? So it's like, I can look at someone who is queer or trans and we can look at each other and say, yeah, we have experienced discrimination, right? But the reasons for why we were discriminated against are different, right? And so that sends different messages to us as people, and in that level, we can't relate. Sometimes I feel like living in a community with people who look like me may lessen the amount of people who ask to touch my hair, who make me feel less visible and yet invisible, and feel like people see Chandler the person and not Chandler the brown man with curly hair. You know? Okay guys, so that's food. Off camera, I took that coconut cream and onion garlic base and threw that in the freezer so it could cool down. Blended that with some Mexican crema, the Thai basil, and then funnily enough, it was a little too thick and I didn't have any more coconut cream left, so I used buttermilk for it. So we kind of came full circle back to a buttermilk ranch of sorts. The Sinigang, you know, I took the seasoning mix, tossed the wings in it as soon as they came out of the fryer, and food. Before I begin to wrap up this episode, I would like to take a second to plug my Patreon. If you join the Patreon, it is super appreciated, super helpful. Shout out to Bemza for being the first patron. If you join, you get to vote on whatever topics I choose, you know, for the next episode. So if there's a certain topic that you want to see, you have more voting power for that if you join the Patreon. Also, if you have something to celebrate in the lychee shot, I will shout you out there. And then of course your name will go at the end of the video. And I am now moving releases to bi-weekly instead of monthly. And bi-weekly live streams will also be on Patreon. So if you want to come hang out with the rest of the community and, you know, pick my brain on cooking and things like that, we have some group chats there, and the live streams will be there as well. So thank you to my future patrons to be, and thank you to Bemza for being the first one to subscribe to the Patreon. And for the last segment, what?
Sour.
Sour, yeah. Sinigang is sour. Good though? Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. The last segment that I will introduce before finally wrapping up the episode is Good Thing, Bad Thing, where I name a good thing and a bad thing. I think I'm gonna start with bad news first. What's something that's bad? Let's see. Oh, you know what? I got it. Israel, get out of the Philippines, man. Get out of there. like no one wants you. I don't know. How do I say it? I think it's no secret to any of us right now that Israel like really sucks in basically every way possible. And seeing them do what they're doing in the Philippines, look it up if you haven't seen anything about it, is really upsetting. So yeah, get out, Israel. For the good thing though, Spider-Man, oh my God, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Such a good movie. I love that for the Fox era of Marvel, you know, leading up to Infinity Saga, all of those people, Marvel was like, bye-bye. And then they looked at Frank, they looked at the Punisher and they were like, except you stay. I thought that was pretty funny, but wow. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the villain is great. I think Tom is my favorite Spider-Man now. Like, it's not even really a question. A lot of people said that Andrew Garfield, like the best part of him was the comic accuracy and the way that he did his swinging, his quips and things like that. Tom has that now. There's just things in this movie that I think really solidified Tom for me. I already liked him as Spider-Man, but man, I felt things. I felt a lot of things watching that movie, so go watch it. I'm not gonna do like, well, actually, you can see on the back of my shirt, I'm not gonna do like Steve Lacy and spoil anything. This is the t-shirt from his tour a few years ago. I guess that could be a good thing too. The album was great, and the fact that Steve Lacy got a placement, a Marvel placement, that's huge. So may he continue to win. We love Steve Lacy. So what we talked about today was, you know, decentering your appearance, how it can be beneficial. Appearance as attention, you know, your physical appearance can enter the room before your personhood does, right? People see you, they see your skin color, they see your, quote, attractiveness level, they see your hair, they see all these things, and they can make assumptions about you before you even get to have a chance, you know, to say anything or do anything that will let them know who you really are as a person. Appearance as consequence, right? Even things like compliments can end up having a negative effect on someone, because even if you say that you like this thing about someone's appearance, you're letting them know that you're looking at them. And that can be a stressful, anxious, or anxiety driving and depression driving experience for someone. And lastly, decentering appearance, right? In the way that something can be good, it can also be bad. And so approaching body neutrality can help you to escape that cycle of I look good today, I look bad today. And you can just look, you can just be, right? You are always beautiful, and having to adhere to certain standards and having to try to push yourself to be better than yesterday, that's great in a lot of ways, but when it comes to physical appearance and things that we can't really change about ourselves, it's an unhealthy cycle. All in all, we're all just people. We can't help the way that we look, and so there's no sense in stressing ourselves about it. I understand that there are a lot of social pressures that make us think about the way that we look, but you can push back against that and really focus on the things that do matter about yourself, the things that we can take pride in, right? The things that we work towards and strive towards, and how good of people we can be. So I hope that this episode has been wonderful for you, a good experience, relaxing. If you make the meal, please let me know. Shout me out, message me on whatever social you prefer, and let me know. I'd love to see what you guys have to create. Lastly, please join the Patreon if you're able. It really helps these videos continue to be possible, and I really appreciate your support. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.